Good morning, everybody. Those of you with us in person and those of you who are with us virtually. Sorry for the little bit of delay. We had some technical difficulties to work through, but we think we're good to go. So, good morning. I'm Mark Neikirk, the director of the Scripps Howard Center for Civic Engagement at NKU. We work to connect the campus and the community and welcome you. I would like to welcome you to NKU's Experiential Education Week. This is the last event of the week, so it's kind of been a fun week to see what students are doing, where the classroom connects to the community in a variety of ways. And that variety really is extensive, depending on who the community partners are and what the class is involved in and what's being taught. What you'll see today derives from about a 10-year relationship that we've had with the Cincinnati Art Museum, in which we bring in a writer or sometimes more than one writer and then connect that to work in the classroom. This year we brought in John Maclean, who wrote Home Waters. John is the son of Norman Maclean, who wrote the book A River Runs Through It, a kind of I think it's fair to say, a literary classic, and John's book is sort of a behind the scenes and follow-up to A River Runs Through It. So the way we connected John's presentation to the classroom was a little something different. We invited a dance class to read the books and interpret those books in dance. And so they performed this in October for the first time on the stage of the Cincinnati Art Museum. And what we're going to learn today is a little bit of the process behind that. Those of you who are with us in person, be prepared. It's a little interactive. I'm sure you can get out of your chair at home also, but it should be fun. We are with you for the next hour, and we'll have time for questions at the end. If you're here in person, just raise your hand and ask a question. Those of you joining us virtually, there's a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, so we will monitor that. I am going to turn it over to Teresa VanDenend Sorge and Hannah Jenkins. Teresa teaches dance and coordinated this process as artistic director, and Hannah was one of 7 dancers. By the way, there were a lot of students involved in this project, including the 7 dancers. Another student composed original music for the dance. Another student created the lighting design. We've had Norse Media students with help with the filming. They are here today to present the broadcast, if you will, and an NKU student who did photography for us. So there's been a range across disciplines of student engagement around this experiential education opportunity. So, Teresa?
Hi, thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to be able to share this process with you. It was a fantastic experience that we've been on, and since the Art Museum in October, we've been able to perform this piece again in March, and then we're going to perform it at the NKU Dance 23 student dance concert next weekend as well. So we've had opportunities to show it in many different venues, and it's the piece that kind of keeps on going and keeps on giving, and so we're super excited to be able to share the process with you. So Hannah and I will kind of walk through what we did. We'll sort of banter back and forth and share our process. If you have questions along the way, please just let us know. So this, what is this river, Ron, again?
Middle prong of the Little River.
Yes, so this is a lovely, lovely photo from that river from Ron Ellis's experience fishing there. Whoops. Okay. This is John Maclean, who's the author of Home Waters, who very generously joined us in so many ways that were unexpected throughout the building of this process. Coming into this, knew nothing about fly fishing. I've never even fished in any way, shape, or form, and Mark said, can you figure out how to connect dance to fly fishing? And I thought, I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out. And John was very generous with us the whole process, and then I would love to share that at the end of the experience, he autographed my book and said, to Teresa and the dancers, you figured it out. So we feel very honored to have been stamp of approval by John, and just to have an opportunity to work closely with him. When we originally created the dance, we used a lot of quotes from the book, which you'll see, and the students took turns saying the quotes, and we recorded and worked with that and built a sound score out of the quotes. And then after John had seen the performance, he volunteered to read the quotes himself. So in the finalized version of this, it's actually John's voice reading his own words, which is really quite touching. So. This is Peter Lefkowitz. He was a composer for the music, for the dance, and that was another exciting adventure that we went on. As a choreographer, we don't often get opportunities to work with composers directly. That is a very expensive proposition, to have someone come into your space, to all of the hours of rehearsals, watch what you're doing and make a dance. That's just like, there are people in the world who do that, and they're very famous. And the rest of us are kind of grassrootsing it and making it happen. And so such an honor to work with Peter, who's a composition student here. And I have some words from him that he wasn't able to be here this morning, so he wanted me to share this with you. So I'm just going to read directly from what Peter had sent me. Bear with me, Peter is very wonderful. Before working with Teresa, I've never done anything related to dance, unless you count the elementary school glee club when I was 12. All I knew about dance and dance music was the Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky. However, when I walked into the first rehearsal, everyone was super welcoming, especially Teresa. She never doubted me at all, which was great, because I was doubting myself at every step of the way. So it was great always having her in my corner. It was interesting to hear her say she'd never worked with a composer before, because she almost fell into it naturally. Well, obviously I had to figure out how to translate her dance language into my music language. The way she acted made it sound like she had worked with them all the time. Usually my method of writing music is very A to Z. However, Teresa's method of creating dance is very K to A to X to P to Q, and then go back to P and then change it and take R and put it next to the L. It was very chaotic. Coincidentally, my composition professor at the same time was trying to get me out of the idea of writing a piece from the first note to the last, but planning on how it would go and then using that to write more efficiently. Teresa was like that, but on hard mode. She helped push me past my bounds as a composer. When I went into this, I was expecting to write the piece using two things: the feelings I got from the book, such as the warmth of family and the rushing of a river, and maybe include a rhythm that mimicked the cadence of fly fishing. However, when I walked into my first rehearsal, I was surprised that, in silence, the dancers had already made the first minute of the dance. Thus, I had the very interesting task of writing music based on what I heard, beyond the shuffling of clothes and thuds of footfalls. Showing it to them at the next rehearsal was very interesting. Despite me having studied the video intensely and making everything line up with what they did in practice, it did not happen that way. They would spin too early, they would leap too late, and it made me realize how organically a dance is created, as opposed to sheet music that is rigid and set once out on the paper. None of this made the dance any worse and helped me inform that what I wrote shouldn't be for the exact moves they would make, but the general feeling of what they would do. However, I still brought in music that was written before they set the dance to it, and that was another experience. Usually the only people studying my music with any intensity were me and my composition professor. Now I had an entire dance group interacting with it. It was incredibly nerve-wracking. Yet, they fell into it naturally. Overall, the experience was something I never would have expected to do, but this was fundamentally influential in the way that I write music now. So those. All right, do you want to talk about the process a little bit, how we got started with this?
Yeah, Teresa kind of messaged us before the semester started and was like, hey, I have this, this connection to create a dance about a text. And we were like, oh, this would be interesting. We've never really composed a dance out of a book in this setting, so we were all excited for the challenge. And then she mentioned it was about fly fishing, and we were all very confused on how we would connect the dance back to the text. But I think it worked pretty well in our process. So when we came in the first day, we made sure that we had our text and we were ready, and Teresa came up with some ideas on where to start, just like a brainstorm start marker, so we can create something together. We dove into the book. We went chapter by chapter, finding inspiring texts that we thought we could use to come to life. His book was very inspiring. I have a few quotes that kind of drew my attention and that we utilized to try to compose. So the first one is in chapter 2 of Home Waters. This text says, using lots of wrists and working the rod in a 4-count rhythm, back and pause for the line to strengthen, 2 counts. Forward and pause again for the line to extend, 2 more counts. And then only allow the fly to settle gracefully on the water. It's all in the twist of the wrists. That method is considered quaint today, or used for short casts, but it was the norm at the time and has a classic look when properly performed. So I know me personally, I kind of dove into this quote and we analyzed the rhythm, we try to incorporate that rhythm and try to stay true to the originality of the movement. So we got to collaborate as a group, and it was so nice to work with people outside of the dance realm and bring dance to life on a stage outside of our own studio and our own normal performance venues.
So the students all had to read the book sort of a couple chapters at a time, and when they came to class, they would have quotes that really spoke to them, and then the beginning of each rehearsal was sort of sharing those quotes, looking at them several times. Several people picked the same quote, and we kind of talked about that, and we shared our own life experience about why that quote was meaningful to us. No one in the room actually had ever fly fished before, so we were looking for our way in to the feeling of family, the feeling of community, the feeling of this group of people out in nature together, just experiencing the sounds of the water and the feeling of the air and all of the beautiful, just beautiful nature and just being able to be there together. And so that's kind of where we found our way in. And then students were able to really connect to some deep and personal experiences that they had had in their own lives, especially in nature, with family, with older family members, that sort of thing. So. This is Mike Arnold. We had a great opportunity to have Mike come into our rehearsal and do some fly fishing lessons with us. So now none of us can say that we've never fly fished, at least we have in a dance studio. So this is Mike. He's very generous teacher and helped us with all of the different ways in which we could use the fly rod, and he specifically taught us the 4-count patterning that Hannah was just reading about.
It was really cool too, because in the photo it doesn't look like a normal rod. He brought us a practice rod, so we can kind of get the idea of the movement and the rhythm count for a proper technique. And then we switched to, once we were more comfortable, we switched to the traditional rod, which is really interesting in the studio, especially when it gets caught in the tiles. That's not as great, but
yeah.
At least we caught something with it. But it was a really great experience.
We have only caught one thing in the works above the stage in all of our performances, and we were able to unwind pretty quickly. This is an embodiment of a fly at the end of the line.
Yes.
So one thing I wanted to highlight as well is that taking this show on the road, it was also an enormous learning opportunity for the students involved. The Art Museum stage has very minimal lighting, and it doesn't have a floor that is safe for us to dance on. There's a lot of electric boxes that have sharp edges and stuff on it. So we needed to put down our own dance floor, which this is a Marley floor in the back of my truck. And it comes in big rolls on PVC, and then here in the front of the truck are the lights that we actually used. And Morgan Abercrombie, who's a lighting design student here at NKU, she basically had this and a bunch of other things, and she made a beautiful lightscape happen on the stage for us. It was really, really fantastic. And the students were involved with this every step of the way, figuring out the costumes, loading up the lighting, loading up the floor, getting all the props, making sure everything was there to bring it to life on the stage. These are our costumes that they had to steam out themselves and get them all prepared to go. Then there's the process of laying a floor, is that it comes in these sheets, you lay it down, it all has to be taped. Takes about an hour or more depending on the size. And so that's a wonderful learning opportunity for the students as well. How do you perform in a space that's not traditionally set up for dance, which is most spaces? So it's a process we do often, and it's an opportunity for them as they go out into the world to have had this experience, put on their resume, know how to do it for their own future performance. This is just a little shot here to show the lighting that Morgan was able to do, adding gels onto those garage lights. And then we also had lights out in the front as well that we sort of took some furniture from the art museum and organized it all so that the lights would come from the front so we could actually see the sculpting of the dancers' faces and whatnot. Anything else you want to say about this?
I think it was a great opportunity to transform that space that, again, is not normally used for dance. It was really awesome to kind of work in collaboration to brainstorm on how can we make this stage, how can we pull the curtain, how can we lay the floor. Morgan, with her brilliant ideas with the lighting, she worked hours on that. Same with Peter coordinating the music. It was just an all-out effort that was really, really appreciated and very, very beneficial for us as students.
At the end of the night, they have to stay late and roll all the floor back up and do all the tear down and all the tech. And so that's what's happening here. Oops. And there we are with Mark, celebrating the end of our art museum run.
Yes.
So, yeah. Any questions before we move forward? Thoughts? All right, well, as Mark warned you, this is Experiential Learning Week, so we're gonna do a little experiential learning. So this is dance, that's what we do. So we're gonna ask you to stand up. It's not gonna be scary, don't worry. Nobody has to do anything strenuous. But if we could move to this part of the room, kind of up in here, we might wanna just move this first row back a little bit and just get us into an oval shape here.
You see a break from the dance. We're on the break.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your willingness. Good. Yes.
We don't up this way, but I'll scoot back.
Yeah, we can kind of come around this way just a little bit. Okay. So, one of the ways that we make movement, like I said, is that we just read out quotes. And then we think oh, that's interesting to me, and just whatever pops in your mind the first time. So what's gonna happen is I'm just gonna read a quote directly from John's book on page 16, and I'm just gonna ask you for whatever word comes to mind. That word, that just clicked onto something in my brain. It could be any word. You can pick I or in if you want. It doesn't have to be anything profound. Don't feel stressed. Okay. If you want to know a secret, I'll tell you one, George would say. When I'm sitting beside a stream trying to see what's driving the fish up, I try to get the flies between me and the sun. Not so much to see their color, that's important. But more important than color is radiance. How do they light up? Radiance is what makes the difference. Can you pick a word from that?
Yes. I think I'm gonna go with radiance.
Radiance.
Light.
Light.
Secret. Reflection.
If.
Quiet.
Quiet.
Driving.
Fly.
Fly.
Sunshine. Color.
Beautiful. Okay, so what you're gonna do next is just make one gesture or movement that goes along with your word. I'm gonna count to 3 and we're all gonna do it at the same time. We're not gonna think hard on it, we're just gonna do something with our
No
body.
judgment.
No judgment.
No
Everything is
judgment.
correct.
Yes, there's no
All right.
wrong answers.
No wrong answer. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Ah, beautiful. Beautiful. Look at you. Did you feel the energy shift immediately? We just had this movement moment together. So beautiful. Okay, so little more stressful right now. We're gonna go around and just share what you just did, just individually. What did you do, Hannah? Can we try that in whatever version you can do?
I don't know how to do it.
Arms circle, top. They make a circle and they
Make a
meet
circle.
at
All
the bottom.
right.
Mark, what word did you choose?
Light and
Light. So if we put those two together, we could have, what was your word?
Radiant.
Radiance. So let's dance radiance. Radiance and light.
Yeah. Secret. Actually, a movement for casting where I might want to look at something and think it's something else. And so this, to my hand out in front as if I could tell a secret.
Nice. So if we have radiance and light and secret. Yes, don't worry about the rights and lefts either, it's fine. Whatever side of your body you're doing is legit.
Yes.
Reflection was just this.
Reflection. Nice, let's go again. We have radiance, light, secret.
Reflection.
Reflection.
And mine was if, so question.
If. Love that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Radiance, light, secret,
Reflection.
Yeah.
We might need your help to say your own word back. My short-term memory might not support this all the way around. Okay.
It was quiet.
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 Nice. Let's add 2 on. Ooh, challenge ourselves.
Mine was driving, and then I did this for like when the fish comes up to the.
Drive.
Nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, very nice.
Nice. Okay, from the top.
Radiance. Light.
Light. Secret.
Reflection.
If. Quiet. Driving.
I did fly.
Yeah. Fly. Good. Good.
Sunshine, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's good. Repetition. We have lots of
Yes.
repetition in our dance. We love it. So.
Radiance. Light.
Light. Secret.
Secret.
Reflection. If.
Quiet.
Quiet.
Driving.
Fly. Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yes, sorry.
I did color and I kind of just went like this.
Color.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
lovely.
Color.
Nice.
Colors.
Color.
All right, let's do them all together. Here we go.
Light.
Secret.
Reflection.
If.
If. Quiet. Driving.
Driving up.
Fly. Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Color.
Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna try that again, only this time without talking, and I'm gonna read the quote while we do it. Follow Hannah, she knows what she. All right. If you want to know a secret, I'll tell you one, George would say. When I'm sitting beside a stream, trying to see what's driving the fish up, I try to get the flies between me and the sun. Not so much to see their color. That's important. But more important than color is radiance. How do they light up? Radiance is what makes the difference. So there we have a way in which we've taken everyone's ideas and what everybody was able to take from that quote, and we've made our own thing. And we're not acting out the thing that John has written because it stands alone. It doesn't need us to act it out. What it needs is for us to add our own layer of our own life experience and our own way in which we inhabit our bodies into this quote, which is what adds another layer of richness, right? So thank you so much for participating in that. You were fantastic. Very good, very good. You can have a seat again. We're going to share with you the video.
What's really cool is you're holding your hands up, all the words were on your hand. My name's on the foot.
Your name is on my board.
How funny. Let's get it a little bit.
All right. In theory, I can just go to the end.
I think it's gonna work.
Okay. I'll let you take over.
You wanna talk about
Sure. Yep. So this is what we're about to see is the filming of this, which Chris and his team did for us in December. We came into the Corbett Theater and we did a whole professional filming, and I believe that this film is going to be distributed. There's a lot of people in the fly fishing community that are super interested, and they also don't know exactly how we might combine dance with fly fishing. And so we're going to have an opportunity to distribute this out, and so that people can see. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Mark?
No, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just, everybody share it on social media. We have a YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to know a secret, I'll tell you one, George would say. When I'm sitting beside a stream trying to see what's driving the fish up, I try to get the flies between me and the sun. Not so much to see their color. That's important, but more important than color is radiance. How do they light up? Radiance is what makes the difference. My father admired Paul for his skill, but said that he'd never seen shadow casting fool a fish. But who's to say? Paul believed in it. He caught an awful lot of fish, and half of fishing is persistence in what you're doing. The creek ran nearly straight at first, too fast and shallow to hold trout. We waded on, entering an enclosed and welcoming world. The willows turned the creek into a tunnel with only a narrow wedge of the sky above it. And in that channel flowed a second stream, a horizontal column of air made cool and humid by the riffling water below. You have to think like a fish. Always there was a living physical link binding us together. The Rapidan River rises high in the Blue Ridge Mountains, up with the black bears and eastern brook trout. And of all the lovely little rivers that start up there in the clouds, it is perhaps the most beautiful. Under a big sky, shadows cast in a rhythm, perfect memories. when I am there, I feel that my father, mother, and brother are also. It's a long way to come to view the clear cutting. Love has to bring all of us back. When I am on the water, and especially when no one else is around, I feel the presence of the generations of my family whose stories run through it. Life doesn't stop when you reach a peak. It moves on as before, just as the river does after a fight with a big fish. On a day like this, though, and after a rainbow trout like that one, the river merged the life of the spirit with the act of fly fishing, a legacy endlessly renewed by the passage of waters. Home waters.
There you go. Any questions or comments or thoughts or?
Did you all watch a lot of film on fish, like nature channel stuff to get movements.
Yeah, you know what we watched was a lot of videos of Joan Wolfe, who is a female fly fisher. I don't really even know when she was sort of.
Well, she's still doing it, and Joan, an interesting thing about Joan is Joan was a dancer who came to fly fishing and began to cast in competition against other women until it was realized she might as well compete against all genders because of, and she also is, there's a significant movement in the fly fishing community to get more women involved, and Joan is a leader of that. She has taught other women to be instructors, but you know, one of the neat things, and it was a discovery during this process, is that Joan was a dancer before she was a fly caster, and that her skill as a caster derives from her dance skills and the movement. So.
Yeah, I think as far as, yeah, it definitely was. And as far as like really getting the visual inspiration, we didn't do so much of that. We more did sort of crafting their own memories of nature experiences. So we did
watch
River
his
Run-
father film.
Yes, we watched the River Run Through It.
River
Yeah,
Run
they did
Through It.
watch that, yes.
So we got a little bit of inspiration from the cast members of that movie.
A lot of description about experiences that they've had outdoors. The generational piece is a really important theme in the book, and so we talked a lot about being in various settings on trips or whatever, running out back behind your house with people of a different generation than you, and just what we can learn, you know, in that way. So, which that was very important to the students, that we had multi-generations in our dance. It couldn't just be us.
So since it's Experiential Education Week, I wonder if the two of you would just reflect quickly a bit on the value of this connecting dance to a text and to a public performance, and we certainly, if we're teaching somebody to be a doctor, they're going to have to do a little bit of work in the real world before they do their first heart surgery, but across all disciplines, connecting the classroom to real experience. But what about how is this as a dance experience?
As a student, I think it's so beneficial to have some kind of connection to outside of the university. I'm also an exercise science major, and we dabble in research in the community, and that's not very prevalent in the School of the Arts as it is in other majors. So I think having this opportunity to collaborate with a museum, collaborate with the Scripps Howard Center, as well as other departments in SOTA. A show isn't just about dancers or actors. It's all those who go behind the scenes, all those who set up the stage, all those who break down the stage. It's a community effort, and I think having that experience at NKU is very beneficial for us who move on in our careers with dance.
Teresa, by the way, does a lot of this. Some other dance students did probably not a completely dissimilar activity from what we did with students in Newport and Boone County schools. So it's something, opportunity she's always looking for.
Absolutely, and this has really been what my professional career has been making dances with people in communities across. And I'm new to Cincinnati, so I'm super excited about these Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky opportunities. And yeah, I think it's like, it really is, there are so many working artists who will never see Broadway. There are so many working artists who will never, do that sort of thing, and there's so much good work that happens in the communities and so much good work that happens individually. And just the logistics alone and learning how to put together something like this is a fabulous opportunity for the students. They learn to cold call, they learn to ask the questions, to go to the art museum and recognize that there aren't lights, and to realize that the floor is unsafe, and to understand what we then need to do and how we collaborate with the people who work for SOTA in the shop and the people who are, making all of this happen, as Hannah said, and all of that is just, it's real world experience. And if you come into a position where you know how to do that already, the doors will open for you and you can just make art happen. And if you're like, oh, I don't know, somebody else will figure that out, then less art happens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, any other thoughts, questions, comments from the audience? We'll have the YouTube available very soon, so put it on your social media, tell your friends to watch it. I've seen the performance 3 times live, and I don't know how many times as we did post-production on the video, and it moves me every time, and this is the first time I've seen it on the big screen, but it's just remarkable. I encourage you to watch it again. You see new things every time you watch it, and watching it with the experience of trying to do some of these movements. And for, I think 12, 13 minutes, I was having trouble remembering color at the end of the thing. What was that again? Anna, excellent guidance.
Thank you.
But thanks everybody for coming, and thank you all again. This has been a really extraordinary and different example of experiential education that has, and I think you can see from the credits, just the students, as Hannah said, it takes a village to do a project like this, and we just have wonderful students here who embrace this project and help make it real. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Thanks again for dancing with us.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.